everyone. Are we there yet? Are we going live yet? We're not live yet. We're live. Hi, it's 5am Mester Scrum. How are you doing today? Everybody doing good out there in the morning? So this is 5am Mester Scrum, and Eddie drew me a face portrait that he wanted me to put on here for the intro page. Says ask him what we should do. Good morning out there. Morning.
Dad.
Yeah, Eddie.
You're out there. You're at the end of the show.
No, I just started the show, dude.
Look.
I just started. It's there. Hi, Ed. See, watch. There you go. It's a delay. There's a delay, Ed. So Eddie's sitting over there. The boy, he's awake. Yeah, of course, 5am Mester show, but it's like 5:40 in the morning, so we're good. We're awake and we're out. I've been up early because I was thinking about stuff and doing stuff. So 5am Mester Scrum, we do this because we're going to give you ideas, the practical and tactical, so that you have a good workplace, enjoyable workplace to be in, and to allow you to go home, have fun with your families, and have a life, right? We talk about Agile and Scrum, how you can use Agile and Scrum to make your workplace better. My name is Greg Mester. I'm a Scrum Master and Agile Coach. This is episode 82, and just sharing thoughts and hopefully get some feedback from everybody. Also, we're on a bunch of podcasts. We're on those social media engines. So we're going to talk about it. So I'll just give you one of the things here, learning why you do this every day and what's going on. So for like 76 episodes, been taking the content and just pasting it in LinkedIn, and it worked perfectly. All of a sudden, somebody somewhere in either LinkedIn or YouTube or in the universe there decided they want to look for this embedded permissions little checkbox on the thing. Don't you love it when people say, I think we should pay attention to that now after 82 days. It's now time we enforce it. But yet they don't tell anybody. We've all been there in the IT world where they just turn switches on and don't tell anybody they turn on a switch. And so I had to go through and I tried to turn them all on. Hopefully it'll work and we'll do a better job embedding. But I noticed for some reason they were off, and I don't know why I would ever turn them off. So, but it's just funny, weird. But we've been there, right? Everybody in IT been there where somebody in the system decided they wanted to turn on a switch. And Eddie, be careful to not shake table. Did you hear what I said? Not shake table. Hi, Ed. It's the Eddie show. Eddie's watching. So I want to talk about two things today. I am going to talk about sprint capacity a little bit from yesterday, but I also want to talk about a game to help people understand Agile and how we work called Leader Follower. And I have a different twist that I went to one class years ago. They did it, and I've been changing it up every time ever since. And so first I want to talk about the sprint capacity, and that's kind of why I had the whiteboard, but Eddie wanted to draw on it, so it has something on it. I'm going to erase the little face that was on the whiteboard, and I just want to start somewhere easy. Let's say we have what's that? Nene, Nene. I have an Eddie. Why don't you just type Eddie? See, it's right there, Eddie.
Now we
have
name.
Name. Oh, okay.
We have a name.
Okay, you have to spell it right. It's Name.
My chart shows
Okay, well we gotta do the show.
Nene.
Okay. You should type it. We have an Eddie. You should say we have an Eddie in the room. All right. Anyway, we have an Eddie in the room, right? So we're back to this, and I'm going to pull this down just a tad bit so you can see a little better. So let's talk about the sprint planning. As we talked about yesterday, there's multiple ways of looking at sprint planning, multiple levels and multiple sprint or capacity planning, right? Analysis, capacity analysis. So I'm going to write on the whiteboard. So let's say you have a 2-week sprint, right? 2-week sprint, which is equal to 10 days, okay? Or equals to theoretically 2 40-hour work weeks unless you work more. So it's 80 hours, right, per person. So this is a per person analysis of the work week, right? If we do sprint planning, and what I've seen average on a 2-week sprint, I'm just going to say it's 4 hours of sprint planning. So, but now we got to break. One day there's another episode in there say, why can't you do sprint planning in 5 minutes? So if you could do it less, I'm saying there's a challenge out there. One of my videos about doing sprint planning in 5 minutes. So let's say it's 1 hour for story commitment. Okay. And I'm breaking it up. So 1 hour for story commitment, and then 3 hours for tasking. So it's like 4 hours total for sprint planning. Okay, so you got 4 hours on sprint planning day. Now, so that's one of the events, right? Sprint planning. Now let's say we do, and I want to be like give extra time, right? For a new team, existing team, some of the things are less, right? So we're in the middle somewhere between a brand new team and an existing team's been doing it for a while. So I got that 4 hours, correct, right? And then I'm going to spend 15 minutes for daily scrum, right? Or stand up, depending how you want it, 15 minutes. But I'm not going to do it on the first day. So 15 minutes times 9 days. So what is that, Eddie?
I didn't learn times.
You haven't learned times yet? Neither have I. But so that's 1 hour, 2 hours, 2 hours, and 15 minutes. So that equals 2 hours, 2.25 hours, right? Total 2 hours, 2.25 hours. So that's daily scrum, right? Daily scrum, 2.25 hours for a 2-week sprint. I'm going to do retro, and I'm going to say that's 1 hour. Okay. Brand new teams, I like to do a retro that's more than 1 hour long. So because there's so much stuff to do, we're learning a lot. But when you get existing, an hour is plenty. And I have a lot of teams that do a retro for a half hour, but I'm just going to pick an hour, just be in the middle, right? And then we have a demo for 1 hour, right? So if we take the 4 hours plus 1, 2, that's 6 hours. It's 8.25 hours. So all the ceremonies, 8.25 hours, okay, out of 80. So that's a little more than 10% of your time, 10% of your time that go to the ceremonies. Now we do a refinement session. I like to do refinement at least 1 extra hour every sprint, but let's say it's 2 hours. Just gonna say yes, because you might refine features and stories. What's that?
Did I send another one?
Did you send another one? No, I haven't got it yet. No comments yet.
I got another eye.
Oh, no, I didn't. You haven't sent me a comment. You didn't hit the send button. So let's say, so we got all these. That's 10. So this is about 10%. A little more. It's probably what, 11%?
I'm watching this one.
You're going to do it that way? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me use my phone here because my math is terrible. So I'm going to say it's 8.25 divided by 80 equals, it's 10.3%. So it's like 10%. I round down. Hey, I'm going to round down. I get extra time, 10%. Okay, so 10% of the core hours. If I do refinement session, so 10% quarter hours, right? If I do refinement, I'm going to write in the bottom thing. So let's say I do refinement of features and stories, and I spend an hour every week of the 2 weeks. So let's say I spend another 2 hours. So now I'm at 10.25 hours on Scrum stuff. So what is that? So let's clear that. There we go. 10.25 divided by 80 equals 12.8, about 13% of your time. So you're spending about 13% total on Scrum activities. So if we take all this away from what we have on average, so we start with 80, and what do we say? 10 point something, 10.25, right? So if you don't do anything else, I'm killing my little eraser, I should have used a napkin. So I got 80 hours per person per sprint minus 10.25 hours gives you 69.75 hours to do everything else, right? So that's how many hours per week you have for the rest of the stuff. Now meetings and all that stuff, it's all considered work in my opinion. As long as it works to what you're doing, you can take, now you as a company may say, hey, my employees spend an hour meeting with my managers. I wish that would really happen, but it doesn't really happen, but it would be great if that would happen in the company. Like you would meet with your managers or your mentors or people that help you grow your process, or you're allowed Eddie, you're shaking the table, dude. You have to pull it off the table. There you go. Now we're good. Thank you, sir. Maybe. Are we good?
Why do you shake it?
I'm not touching the table. That's why we do 5 a.m. Mester Scrum really early, so he's not here, right?
I am here.
I know you're here. Okay.
And it is 5 a.m.
It is 5 a.m. and you woke up. You're not supposed to be awake, but that's okay. We love them, right? So anyway, so we're at the 12-minute mark, so we're getting there. And I want to do the leader follower. So anyway, so let's say you just have 60 hours, right? So depending on how many people, you have 60 hours, and let's say you have 3 dev and 3 tests, right? So you got 6 people on a team, and I'm not counting the Scrum Masters and all. So let's say you have 60 hours a week to do work. Eddie, seriously, the table. It's like everybody, the mental retention, right? So anyway, it's just making me laugh. So I got 60 hours times 6 people. So it's 360 hours. 360 hours. So 360 hours, right? So that gives you a number. So let's say someone's off for a day. So you subtract 8 hours from that. And I know the math isn't perfect, right? So now you're at 358, right? So you're at 358 hours. Let's say we had 2 people. Well, that's not 80 hours. What am I saying? 8 hours, right? Let's say I had 2 people that took off that week. So that'd be 16 hours total missing. And I'm doing whole hours. If you notice that, I'm not messing around and toying with, well, it's really 6 hours. I'm like, yeah, it's 8 hours. Because trust me, the give and take coming on and off from time off, it's no value whatsoever. So you got 50. So you have 344 hours, right? So that's how much time you have in the sprint. So if we said our normal, and we just said it's 360, and we said we had 344 divided by 360 gives us a 95%. So if we did 344 divided by 360, that gives us a 0.96. Okay, gives a 0.96. Can you read I hope you can read my handwriting. It looks weird on the screen. So 0.96 is our ratio. So if her average velocity is 40 points per sprint, I take that number and I times it by 40. says we should be putting in 38 points or less in the next sprint. And that's how you quickly assess that. Now, if you had all your people off for a whole day, like if you had all 6, so if we had, I'm going to do this real quick. Let's say I had 6 times 8. It's 48 hours. So let's say it was 48 hours. So let's say it's a day off, right? It's a holiday coming up. We have Columbus Day here coming up on Monday. So we have 48 hours.
And Halloween.
And Halloween coming. Halloween's a good holiday, right? So 48 plus 360 equals 312. 312 with the holiday. So if we did, now is when I went to eraser, right? So I did 312. 312 over 360 divided by 360 equals 86%. 86%, right? 86%. So 86% times 40 points equals, so now it's 34 points, right? So if we just did simple math, how many hours, I'm not taking count of breaks and bathroom, but I lowered it down a lot. So you're talking
I can do it.
34 points, Eddie.
Plus what?
Okay. Anyway,
Wait.
so that's where you did that.
That's 30. Sure.
Hey. Okay. Gotta tell him to be quiet, right? Tell Eddie to be quiet. Anyway, so with that, we talked. That's how you quickly do a weekly sprint capacity sprint. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the leader follower because we're at the 17-minute mark.
Oh, hi.
This. Don't touch the table. Seriously.
Touch that.
I love people. Love my kids. So I work this way so I can be home to my boy and my daughter who's sleeping. Good for her. I don't know how she's sleeping through this, her brother. Anyway, seriously, Eddie.
Okay.
Don't need the sound effects. They don't apply. Make the sound effects apply. Okay, so we're back. Last thing I want to talk about, and it is Saturday. It is, like I said, show 82. This is 5 a.m. Mester Scrum. Leader follower game. So there's a game that people would go out, and the way it works is you have a leader and a follower. The first round, you spend 1 minute. It's a very quick exercise. It's a great one to get people to stretch their legs when you're doing networking or teaching Agile. I like to do it just after lunch to get everybody to walk around after they ate, right? Just to stretch it out a little bit. So in leader follower game, you have a leader, you have a follower and a leader. And the first part of it, the leader tells you walk around the room, right? So you're walking around the room. I got my little fingers walking around the room. The idea is that the leader will tell the follower how many steps to take. So they'll say, take 1 step forward, and they count, and they go 1 step. Turn right, that counts as a step. Take 5 steps, then turn left and take another 5 steps. Now what happens is the follower counts how many steps, and so does the leader, or somehow the follower should count the steps on that. But the leader tells the follower how many steps to make, and then the follower counts how many steps there are. Typically, let's say you do and I only want to do in a minute. Don't take more than a minute. So you do it for 1 minute. So the leader will count, and typically most people will say, I'm going to pick a number. There's no number, magic number, but let's say they do 40 steps. So they do it for a minute, they count 40 steps. And this is where the leader tells the follower exactly what to do, how to do their job. So that's the similarity to how a lot of places work. I'm the leader. I'm going to tell you exactly how to code your language, and you shall code this, and then tomorrow you're going to code this, and then you're going to do this tomorrow. So you have to wait for me to tell you exactly what to do before you take on the next job, which is not Agile, right? It's not very lean thinking. So this is what typically happens, right? So they tell them what to do. They get 40 steps. The next round, in this place, the follower just walks however they want, and both the follower and the leader just count how many steps are. So you got two people counting. What I do and I don't tell this is one of the ways I twisted it. So now typically they double or whatever the things. So what I do, I let the follower just talk how many steps they want. They just do it and they count and they add it. It's gonna give you more, right? But what I do that's different than everybody else is I cut the time in half. So this goes to doing twice the amount of work in half the time, right? And I try to make this part of the thing. So now instead of a minute, they actually have 30 seconds, but I don't tell them they have 30 seconds. I will tell them they have a minute. I'll go in the first part of the episode. I'll say, okay, for 1 minute, we're going to do this where the leader tells the follower how to take steps and the follower is going to count the steps. In the second part, and then they announce to everybody how many steps they had, right? Everybody goes to the room, all the pairs, they say how many steps they had. The follower in the second one will just do what they do, but I only time it on my phone or whatever I got for 30 seconds. Then they all come back and say, oh yeah, I got like 80 steps in. That's usually double, close to double what they had, or I did a lot more. I did 20 before, I did 40 this time. And they're like, yeah, I see it half. And then I go, oh, guess by the way, I cut your time in half. And they're like, what? You cut the time from a minute to 30 seconds, so I actually doubled my work in half the time? It's a great little exercise. Try it out. Let me know how it works. Share that with your group. But again, it's a leader-follow game where the first part I do it for a minute. The second part I do for a half a minute, but I don't tell them I reduced the time. And I just let them come up with their records. And then I go, by the way, I cut your time in half. So even the groups that says, well, I got the same amount of steps I got on the first one. I said, we did 40 and I did 40 again. So me telling them what to do is perfectly fine. And you tell them, oh, by the way, I cut your time in half. And they go, oh. So they do more steps than me telling them what to do. So even those people in the room get the hint on how that works. So try it out. I like it. Anyway, we're way over time. It's 22 minutes. Had a little guest. Eddie, do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye.
Classic kid. Anyway, 5 a.m. Mester Scrum. Please like and subscribe. Again, we do this because we want you to go home to your loving family. And your kids and friends and have a life, right? So take care. Happy scrumming. Enjoy your weekend. Hope everything's well. Take care. Bye.